that's so dangerous. That hurts so much and it's disgustingly dirty. Oh, it's so dirty in here. I hate dirt. In this video, we are going to explore what week 2 looks like in a renovation. In week 2, we would have already had the strip out done, which you will see part of that behind me, where you're taking out the kitchen, you're taking out the bathroom, you're lifting up the flooring. Now that is not always possible in every single renovation, so it depends on the type of renovation that you're doing. How you approach it would differ. Now in this renovation, it's not a huge thing. We're not knocking down any walls, we're not adding any walls, and we're not doing any structural works. So we would call this a cosmetic renovation. Now here, I've got the old kitchen behind me, I've got the new bath here, this is a bath, and we have already started the first fix. So before we had old lights, old gold spotlights, now we have beautiful white spotlights. We've had the old kitchen plug system. The electrics in the kitchen, as you can see, they're quite high up on the wall there, but now they're much lower and we've brought them down in line with the worktops so they can just plug in and go. And here we're going to have the kitchen there, which will only take up this section of the room, and the remainder will be open for the tenant to use as they please. So in this week, we're doing the first fix where the plumbing works will be looked at, the electric first fixes will be looked at. And when we say first fix, we mean this is not the actual fitted goods that go in. This is all the stuff that we don't see, the invisible work that is happening in the background. So when you're turning on your tap, there's water being released somewhere into your tap, and then therefore it would come out. But before all of that, you've got to make sure the pipes are being directed in the right way, they're in the right places, and they fit the new layout that you are achieving. So here we've had the, you can't see it because the kitchen is in the way, but we've had pipe work on the wall here, which was originally there. But because we're not going to have a washing machine up against that wall, we will no longer keep the pipe work there. So that will go and it will be placed in the new area, which there's some new pipe work going on there, and with the new sockets, and then that will now be the new place for the kitchen area. So that is how it's going to work. So this is just week 1. There's not a lot of stuff happening. We have had a roofer come in and do some of the roof work corrections that needed to be done. They came up on the survey, so that was fundamental that we fix those, and they have now been done. It's not something we see. It's actually in the back of the house that we don't access at all. You cannot see it. But my concern is there's little gaps in the way how he's done it, and I'm thinking, is water going to be able to seep in? And if it seeps in over time, what's going to happen? Now obviously it's been like that for many years. Water hasn't seeped in, and the way how it was before, there kind of was a gap, and I still need to go back and look at those pictures and just double check to make sure that am I actually just concerning about anything that doesn't need to be concerned about, or is there actually some work that does need doing, there's further work that needs doing. And as well as that, the way how the builder approached when the day he was available to do this, he called me when he was already on his way to the renovation. I don't really like that type of way of working. I like a bit of heads up so I can get there too. But then at the same time, I also wanted the work done. So I said, go ahead and do it. And because even when work's happening, I'm not there necessarily monitoring them, I'm not there. So usually the electrician would come here, like I have not been here when he's doing the work. I come after the work to see how it's going, or I would just come during the day, like today's 2 o'clock, I'm here, he's not here, but he has done work. So and again, this is not a huge job where someone has to be here all day every day. So in looking at timescales, I take that into consideration. I already knew it's a very busy time. We secured the house in a month because it was a cash purchase. That meant me finding builders rather quickly, and if you're going to work with builders who I like and I wanted to work with, and I understand their schedules months in advance, they're booked months in advance, then they're just fitting me around jobs. So if they're finishing early on one day, they will come to mine and continue on. And that was a setup we had to go with this one because time was of the essence. I didn't want this being a long wait for us to start. I didn't want this being a long renovation. Look, just a couple of weeks, let's get in, get out and get this thing done. And therefore I had to work around their timescales, but within reason, because again, we're in week 2, these are done. Now what's next going to happen is the plumber's going to do his work. Now that these have all been done, the kitchen will go in. That's the carpenter who's doing that. The plumber will do the plumbing works. We've got new radiators going in, which you would have heard and seen if you have been keeping up to date with what's going on. So that's generally how it is. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your specifications of work is in line with the work that's been done. Now these builders, my builder, I really am very happy with him because he's gone over and beyond. So there's things that have come up and have been identified. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. Here, I don't even know if you can see. Here, you will see that there's a big hole in the ceiling, and that's where the vent was. There was a vent on the ceiling, and we assumed, okay, you put that vent on and that allows the air to flow out and up into the vent and out of the property, because there's also a matching hole that matches where the vent is on the outside of the property. So you'd think the two are connected and Bob's your uncle. But no, what has happened is that when they've taken down the vent, there is just a hole there, and all you see is the flooring from upstairs and some pipe work. So that goes to show that obviously there was no vent, that it actually never worked. So us caring for the house and thinking, okay, ventilation, it has to happen, because when you're cooking, you need to vent out. There's a window, but it's on the opposite side of the room. There's no window on that side. There's not much ventilation, so we have to create that. So what we've decided to do is go for an oven hood. Rather than replace the vent, which was the original plan, to replace the vent, just do like for like, and again, it's to keep the cost low. We've bought the house at a good price. We want to keep our costs at a good price and then get as much money out as possible and rent. So in order to do that, you don't go over and beyond, but we've had to do that. And to be honest, I'm happy we've had to do that, because I think it would look so much better having a cooker hood there. It's almost like what you expect to see, isn't it? You'd expect to see a cooker hood. So having one there now, I'm quite pleased about the change, and the builder's not charging us for that. So I'm really happy with the outcome with this. So far, everything's going well so far. It's just making sure you're staying on top of it, updating your records as you go. Anytime there's a payment, you're updating your payment schedule. Each and every single time there's a change of costs or something of the sort. And before you okay a change, like when the builder called me and said, look, this vent doesn't lead to nowhere, but there's no ducting, there's nothing, so we're gonna have to go and buy all the ducting to make a vent. So I said, okay, well, hold your horses. Before you do all of that, let me just double check and decide whether or not that's the right thing to do. The decision was made, cooker hood up there, as you can see they've gone in the wall and everything's been channeled in, but I'll talk about that after. Decision's made, cooker hood on the wall, and now we're going to have a condensed cooker where it recycles itself and you just have to change the filters. And then those filters will be changed every, Lord knows how many, depending on the type and the quality that you buy, you'll change those filters, and then that's how you'd work the cooker hood. But the moral of that was, I don't know what the moral of that was. Cost? I think it was about cost. It wasn't about cost. You can still see I'm suffering from baby brain, clearly. I was going somewhere with this, and when I'm editing, it'll come back to me, and then I'll say. But what I also wanted to talk about is channeling wires into the wall so they are not exposed. You don't have that horrible white, you know, those little plastic white things that go up against the wall. So rather than have wires that go into the wall, they actually keep them on the wall and then channel them into these plastic things. I don't like those. Trunking. I don't like plastic trunking. So here we've asked for anything and everything to be channeled in, and you can see they've done that here, there, and there's a lot of mess on the floor as a result, so I'm happy I wasn't here for that. But that's where we are. That is the update, and I'm happy. I must say there is a lot of making good that needs to be done, corrections need to be done. So for example, where that vent it wasn't even a vent, it was just a hole, but where that vent was, it is no longer there, and therefore there's a hole in the ceiling, and that needs to be made good. So at some point plasterboard would have to go there. But that's also the same with quite a lot of the spots. A lot of the spots they've been obviously taken out, new ones gone in, similar size, although they do look a little bit smaller, but I think they are similar size. And but as a result, some of the plasterboards chipped away, and now, you know, we have to make good of that. So that means taking them out again, which usually, if you are doing a renovation like we are here, and to be fair, I didn't specify, but this is clearly where you need to specify, is to leave those lights down and out and hanging down, so that the walls and the ceilings can be corrected and then they can be put back in. But at the same time, I like the fact that they're not, because it allows you, first of all, not all of them need correcting, but I'd say about a good half of them do. And it just allows you to see what area you are correcting as well, how much of it actually you need to bring in, so it's a clean, smooth finish once you've put them back into the ceiling. But that's it for now. A lot of this week is based on making sure the builders are doing what they're supposed to do, double checking it against your specifications of work. So if there's any little things missing, you just update them, especially before they're due to finish, because that's important. No one wants to finish your job, think they're finishing, and you're like, oh yeah, but what about this? And it's like, well, why didn't you say that before? So making sure that they are doing everything they need to do. Making sure you're updating costs, staying on top of all the cost changes anytime there's a payment, because payments have started being made. Just log in when you're paying, how you're paying, and who you're paying. Any changes, you're logging those changes. And then that's pretty much it. You're staying on top of it. I would also say security is a big thing. So making sure you have a master key box, which a key would go in, and then builders can use that to access the property. And all that is a box that has a code on it, and then you would give the builder the code, and then they can access the property as and when they need to, and you don't have to meet them at the property every single time to let them in. Also making sure your gas and electric is on, that there's money on there, because if it's a new changeover, it might be prepaid meters, and therefore they will be using the electric, and you would need to be making sure there's money on there for them. That's everything for this week. I'll see you next week. Bye.